The unexpected arrival contact at mining station Theta 7, the asteroid field around Kepler 442, had been quiet for months. Mining station Theta 7 drifted through the rock-filled void, its massive processing arms grinding away at mineral-rich asteroids. Commander Zorak of the Corvani Empire watched the daily operations from his command center, his 6 eyes scanning multiple displays, showing ore extraction rates and security sweeps. The Corvani had controlled this sector for over 2 centuries. Their empire stretched across 17 star systems, built on the backs of conquered species and stripped worlds. They were efficient, ruthless, and utterly confident in their technological superiority. Every species they had encountered had either submitted or been eliminated. It was the natural order of things. "Commander," called out sensor operator Vex, his scaled hands dancing across his console. "I'm detecting an anomalous reading on the outer perimeter. Unknown vessel approaching from the direction of the Sol system." Zorak's primary eyes focused on the tactical display. A small blip appeared on the screen, moving slowly through the asteroid field. "Configuration? Unusual design, sir. Appears to be some kind of cargo vessel. Primitive construction, metal hull, chemical propulsion. No energy shields detected, minimal weapon signatures." Vex paused, his head tilting in confusion. "Sir, it's broadcasting a distress signal." "Distress signal?" Zorak's mandibles clicked in amusement. "How convenient. Another species stumbling into our territory, ripe for harvest. What do they call themselves?" "The transmission is in an unknown language, but our translation matrix is working on it. They appear to call themselves ... humans, from a planet called Earth. The ship is heavily damaged. Life support failing, requesting immediate assistance." Zorak studied the vessel on his screen. It was barely 200 meters long, crude and boxy in design. Scorch marks covered its hull, and several sections showed obvious damage from what looked like meteor impacts. Atmosphere was venting from multiple breaches, creating a glittering trail of frozen gases. "How delightfully pathetic," Zorak mused. "A dying species in a dying ship. Signal the salvage teams? We'll strip their technology, catalog their biological data, and add another conquered race to the Empire's records. Sir, should we attempt communication first? Standard first contact. Protocols?" Zorak's laugh was a harsh, grating sound. "Protocols? Look at them, Vex. They're already dead. They just don't know it yet. However, their ship might contain useful materials. Bring them into Docking Bay 7. Postguards, but don't bother with heavy weapons. What could these primitives possibly do to us?" The human vessel, designated as Stella Wanderer, according to their transmissions, limped toward the massive mining station. Its engines sputtered and died twice during the approach, requiring what appeared to be emergency repairs. The mining station's tractor beams eventually had to guide it into the docking bay as the bay door sealed and atmosphere flooded the chamber. Zorak and his security team made their way to greet their newest victims. The Corvani commander stood over 3 meters tall, his armored exoskeleton gleaming under the bay lights. His team carried standard pulse rifles, more than enough to handle any resistance from the dying aliens. The human ship's airlock hissed open, releasing a cloud of acrid smoke. Emergency lighting flickered within the vessel, casting eerie shadows. Zorak expected to see desperate, frightened creatures begging for mercy. Instead, he found himself facing something unexpected. A human female stepped out of the ship, her movements confident despite the supposedly critical damage to her vessel. She wore a simple uniform, dark blue with silver trim, and carried herself with the bearing of a military officer. Her brown hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her green eyes held an intelligence that surprised Zorak. "I am Commander Elena Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force vessel Stellar Wanderer. she said, her voice carrying clearly through the translator. I want to thank you for responding to our distress call. We've been drifting for weeks after our navigation systems failed. Zorak's mandibles clicked in confusion. The human showed no fear, no desperation. She spoke as if she were addressing equals, not her soon-to-be conquerors. You are now prisoners of the Corvani Empire, he declared. Your vessel will be confiscated, your crew processed, and your species catalogued before elimination. Elena's eyebrows rose slightly. Elimination? That seems rather extreme for a first contact scenario. Perhaps we could discuss this more diplomatically. Diplomacy? Zorak gestured to his guards, who raised their weapons. Primitive species do not negotiate. With the Corvani Empire, you will surrender immediately, or you will be destroyed. The human commander sighed, a sound that seemed almost disappointed. I was hoping we could do this the easy way. Computer, please transmit authorization code Omega 77 Alpha. Nothing happened for a moment. Then, every light in the docking bay flickered. The Corvani guards looked around nervously as their weapon systems began displaying error messages. Zorak's personal communicator crackled with static. What are you doing? Zorak demanded. Leveling the playing field, Elena replied calmly. She touched a small device on her collar. All teams. This is Rodriguez. The Corvani have chosen the hard path. Initiate Phase 2. The damaged cargo ship behind her began to change. Panels slid away from its hull, revealing hidden weapon ports. What had appeared to be meteor damage transformed into perfectly positioned armor plating. The venting atmosphere solidified into sophisticated sensor arrays, and the sputtering. Engines suddenly roared to life with power that made the deck plates vibrate. Impossible, Zorak breathed. Our sensors detected no deception. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, Elena explained. Humans have a saying, the best defense is a good offense. But sometimes the best defense is appearing defenseless. The Stellar Wanderer wasn't a cargo ship at all. It was a state-of-the-art stealth frigate, its true capabilities hidden behind layers of holographic camouflage and electromagnetic masking. Its weapon systems came online with a low, ominous hum that made the Corvani guards step backward. You see, Commander Zorak, Elena continued, we've been monitoring your Empire's communications for quite some time. We know about your expansion pattern, your treatment of inferior species, and your assumption that technological superiority equals victory. We decided to test that assumption. Zorak's security team tried to activate their weapons, but the pulse rifles remained dead. The human ship's advanced electronic warfare systems had infiltrated every piece of Corvani technology in the docking bay, rendering their weapons useless. Your species practices deception, Zorak snarled. This is not honorable combat. Honor? Elena's voice turned cold. You are planning to murder my crew and destroy my people without even attempting communication. You talk about honor while practicing genocide. That's not honor, Commander. That's just bullying. The mining station's alarm systems suddenly activated, their wailing sirens echoing through the corridors. Over the intercom, Vex's panicked voice crackled. Commander! Multiple contacts decloaking throughout the asteroid field. At least 30 vessels, all human design. Elena smiled, and Zorak realized with growing horror that this had all been planned. The distress call, the damaged ship, the apparently helpless crew. It had all been an elaborate trap. 37 ships, actually, Elena corrected. Each. One positioned at strategic points throughout your mining operation. My people have been studying your techniques, Commander. We know how your empire works, how it thinks, how it conquers. We also know how to stop it. Through the docking bays. Viewport, Zorak could see the asteroid field coming alive with human vessels. They emerged from hiding places within the rocks themselves, their hulls perfectly camouflaged until they chose to reveal themselves. Some appeared to be cargo ships, others looked like civilian transports, but Zorak now knew better than to trust. "Appearances, what do you want?" Zorak demanded, his voice losing its earlier confidence. "What we want," Elena replied, "is for your empire to understand that humanity is not another primitive species to be conquered and discarded. We are not helpless, we are not weak, and we are definitely not going to roll over and let you destroy us." The human commander gestured toward the viewport, where her fleet was taking positions around the mining station. "This is our introduction to your empire, Commander. This is us saying hello. The question now is whether your people are smart enough to say hello back, or if they're going to keep trying to be the galaxy's biggest bullies." Zorak's communicator crackled to life. "Mining Station Theta 7. This is Fleet Admiral Krathus of the Corvani Imperial Navy. We are responding to your distress call with a full battle fleet. Estimated arrival time, 6 hours. Elena's smile widened. "Perfect. That gives us time to prepare for the real conversation." When predators become prey, the fleet arrives 6 hours later. The space around Mining Station Theta 7 filled with the imposing silhouettes of Corvani warships. Fleet Admiral Krathus commanded a force of 23 vessels, including 2 heavy cruisers and a flagship that could level a small moon. The admiral was a veteran of countless conquests, his battle record stretching back 40 years of imperial expansion. "Report," Krathus ordered as his fleet took position around the mining station. "Sir, the station reports being held by a single human vessel," Communications Officer Yull reported. "Station Commander Zorak claims the humans have somehow disabled their defenses and are holding the facility hostage." Krathus studied the tactical display. His sensors showed only one small ship docked at the mining station, the same primitive vessel that had triggered this entire incident. One ship against an entire mining station? "That's what the reports indicate, sir. However, Commander, Zorak insists there are more human vessels in the area, though our sensors detect nothing." The Admiral's experience told him something was wrong. 30 years of commanding Imperial fleets had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now, those instincts were screaming warnings. "Begin detailed scans of the entire system. Full spectrum analysis. If there are more ships here, I want them found." As his fleet spread out in attack formation, Krathus opened a communication channel to the human vessel. "This is Fleet Admiral Krathus of the Corvani Imperial Navy. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately, or we will destroy your ship and everyone aboard it." Elena Rodriguez appeared on his screen, looking remarkably calm for someone facing overwhelming odds. "Admiral Krathus, I'm glad you could join us. I was hoping to speak with someone who has actual authority in your empire. You will address me as Admiral, Primitive. Your deception at the mining station was clever, but it ends now. You face the might of the Imperial Navy." "I face 23 ships," Elena corrected. "Specifically, 2 Devastator-class heavy cruisers, 1 Sovereign-class flagship, 12 Predator-class destroyers, and 8 Vanguard-class frigates. Your flagship is the Ines Dominator, commissioned 15 years ago, retrofitted with advanced plasma weaponry 8 years ago, and currently carrying a complement of 347 crew members." Krathus felt his blood chill. The human's casual recitation of his fleet's exact composition was impossible. That information was classified at the highest levels of Imperial command. "How could you possibly know? We've been watching you." "For a long time, Admiral," Elena interrupted. "Did you think humanity would stumble blindly into galactic civilization? We've been monitoring your empire's communications, studying your technology, learning your tactics. We know more about the Corvani than you might be comfortable with." "Even if that's true," Krathus snarled, Knowledge won't save you from superior firepower. You have one ship. I have 23. Elena's smile was genuinely amused. You know, that's exactly what Commander Zorak thought when he first encountered us. He was also wrong about our numbers. The human commander touched her collar communicator. All units, this is Rodriguez. The Admiral has arrived. Time to show him what he's really dealing with. The asteroid field around them suddenly erupted with activity. Rocks that had appeared completely natural split open, revealing human warships that had been hiding in perfect camouflage. What Kratos had taken for simple asteroids were actually sophisticated mobile bases, each one bristling with weapons and launching smaller attack craft. Impossible, Kratos breathed as his sensor operator announced the new contacts. Sir, I'm reading 67 human vessels of various classes. They're emerging from concealment throughout the asteroid field. Some appear to have been hiding inside hollowed-out asteroids. Others were using advanced cloaking technology. The tactical display showed Kratos' fleet suddenly surrounded by human forces. The humans had turned the entire asteroid field into a massive trap, using the natural cover to hide a fleet nearly 3 times the size of his own. This is impossible, Kratos repeated. Our intelligence reports indicated that humanity was a primitive species with limited spaceflight capability. Your intelligence reports were carefully crafted disinformation, Helena explained. We've been seeding false data into your communication networks for months, making sure you saw exactly what we wanted you to see. A primitive, helpless species stumbling around in crude ships, perfect for conquest. One of the human vessels, a sleek destroyer that had been disguised as a cargo hauler, moved closer to Kratos' flagship. Its weapon systems powered up, but it held fire. The truth is, Admiral, humanity has been preparing for this moment for decades. We've known about your empire since we first detected your communications. We've studied every species you've conquered, analyzed every battle you've fought, and learned from every mistake your victims made. Kratos felt the weight of the situation settling on his shoulders. He had walked into a trap so sophisticated that his entire fleet was now at the mercy of an enemy he had dismissed as primitive. What do you want? He asked, echoing the same question Zorak had posed hours earlier. What we want is simple, Helena replied. We want your empire to understand that humanity is not another easy conquest. We want you to take a message back to your leaders. The galaxy is big enough for both our species, but only if you stop trying to eliminate everyone you encounter. You're threatening the entire Corvani Empire? We're offering the Corvani Empire a choice, Helena corrected. You can continue your expansion pattern and find out exactly how prepared humanity is to defend itself and others. Or you can consider the possibility that cooperation might be more profitable than conquest. Kratos studied the tactical display. Again, the human fleet had positioned itself with devastating effectiveness. If this turned into a battle, his forces would be destroyed before they could inflict significant damage on the enemy. You cannot expect the Empire to simply abandon its territorial expansion because of one encounter with your species. We don't expect anything, Helena said. We're simply providing information. The Corvani Empire has been successful because it has encountered only species that couldn't effectively resist your expansion. That situation has now changed. The human commander gestured toward the asteroid field around them. This system is now under human protection. Any Corvani vessels that enter this space will be warned once, then destroyed. We've also established similar defensive positions around 17 other systems in this sector. 17 systems? Kratos' voice carried disbelief. That would require thousands of ships, millions of personnel. It requires exactly what we've deployed, Helena interrupted. Admiral, your empire has been successful because you've been the biggest predator in the galaxy. But every ecosystem has its apex predator. Today, you're learning that humanity has decided to compete for that position. Kratos realized that everything he thought he knew about this encounter was wrong. This wasn't first contact with a primitive species. This was a carefully orchestrated demonstration of power by a civilization that had been preparing for this moment far longer than anyone had realized. Your fleet is free to leave, Elena continued. In fact, we encourage it. Take word back to your leaders about what you've seen here. Tell them that humanity is willing to coexist with the Corvani Empire, but only as equals, not as victims. And if the Empire chooses to respond with force? Elena's expression grew serious. Then you'll discover that the fleet you're looking at right now represents less than 5% of humanity's total military capability. We've been building for this moment for 50 years, Admiral. We've been preparing for war while hoping for peace. The human commander stood from her captain's chair, her image filling Kratos' screen. The choice is yours to make, Admiral. But choose carefully. The galaxy is about to become a much more dangerous place for anyone who thinks conquest is the only path to prosperity. Kratos looked around his bridge at his crew. 30 years of successful campaigns had taught him when to fight and when to withdraw. This was clearly a time for withdrawal. Stand down weapons, he ordered. All ships, prepare for departure. A wise choice, Admiral, Elena said. Safe travels back to your empire. We look forward to hearing your leader's response. As the Corvani fleet began its withdrawal, Kratos realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. The era of easy conquest was over. Humanity had announced its presence not with desperate pleas for mercy, but with a demonstration of superior strategy and overwhelming force. The predators had just discovered they were no longer alone at the top of the food chain. Epilogue: the new reality. 3 months later, the Corvani Empire's expansion into the Outer Rim territories had completely stopped. Reports from the frontier spoke of human defensive positions appearing overnight, protecting systems that had been marked for conquest. Species that had been scheduled for elimination were suddenly under the protection of the mysterious human fleet. Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the latest intelligence reports. The Corvani were adapting, learning to work with the species they had once planned to conquer. It wasn't perfect cooperation, but it was progress.